Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Leslie and today I want to talk about Match Me Abroad episode 11, Playing with Matches. It was a very anticlimactic episode if you ask me. I don't think we got much of anywhere. It was a whole lot of filler. And before I started watching it, I thought this was the finale, but it is not, because there's at least one more episode, which is great because we made no progress here, I feel. Little baby steps of progress. But anyway, I wanted to start off with Mark. We meet up with him and he's reflecting on his second date with Huda and, the ultimatum that she gave him, that they can only date if he stops, going on dates with other matches. And at first, Mark thought that that was ridiculous, especially after just having 2 dates with someone. But he thought about it, and, she's a successful, motivated go-getter. So, he decides he's going to meet up with her, and he's going to tell her that he will commit to her and ask her to be his girlfriend. Mark's nervous because of the distance and he barely knows her. So there's no telling what kind of girlfriend she's going to end up, turning out to be. But he sees potential with her and, that's exciting. So our guy's standing out here on the street making small talk with the passerbyers. And we hear a little bit from Nina. She tells us it's typical for Moroccan women to not want to casually date someone. She thinks it's kind of mixed with Huda because she likes Mark and she wants to move forward. But she also has an ego and she wants him all for herself. And, a lot of us feel that way. I don't know if it's after 2 dates. Sometimes, I guess it depends on the person. So Mark's just standing around on the street and, they fake him out with a cab pulling up and, it's not her. So he's calling and texting her and he can tell that she's leaving him on red and, he's trying to be optimistic, but that's quickly dwindling at this point. And also his texts and calls weren't working, so he's like, why not try a video call? Maybe that's what's going to do it. Like, I wouldn't have went that far personally. So, he leaves her a message that they were supposed to show up and she didn't make it. And I think she's aware that she didn't make it. So he asked her to call or text back, and I wouldn't even leave her a message at this point. Like, go on the date with the next match or something. But, Mark's talking, and he does feel that what she did was pretty cruel to, leave someone standing on the side of the street. And I agree. And it's even worse, he's in a country that he knows nothing about. He doesn't know the laws. He doesn't know the language. And she could have told him or had Nina tell him. She didn't need to leave him out there in the hot Moroccan sun looking stupid. But he does take a little bit of accountability, I guess. I don't know if that's personally what I would say, but that's the best word I got right now. So he's like, maybe if he would have said things differently at the pool when she gave him the little ultimatum, this would be different now. But he's pretty smart. He's got a lot of experience, I think. And he said, then he would be with someone who treats people like that. And I think that's a great point. And, that would have taken him months to see. And he found it out in 3 dates. So we end Mark in his segment. He's walking off down the street, probably going home, have some tea. But honestly, that was not what I was expecting. That was all we really saw of him. I'm not sure where it's going to go with that. And I just hope that, he doesn't give up and maybe he tries like a different country or America and he looks up the laws and the customs there. And yeah, I'm sure we're going to hear something from Huda about what happened. I'm sure Nina will fill us in. But his segment was just, a little bit of filler. I don't know why they couldn't have left that out or combined it with next week, but, that's what they do. Am I right? All right, next up, I want to move on to probably my least favorite person of this, show, Chad. Him and Juan are out here doing some more bro activities. Last time they got haircuts, and this time they're lifting weights. We find out he's been there a week, and he's been on 2 dates with 2 women. We already knew that. I didn't know he had already been there for a week. But anyways, he's saying he trusted Juan to find him someone, but never in his wildest dreams did he expect to be provided with 2 beautiful women. Now he has a big decision since beauty and looks is all that matters to Chad. Juan's lifting after that. Juan's lifting and they're kind of talking crap back and forth a little. And Chad is going on about how he hasn't dated anyone in 3 years. And now he has not 1, but 2 beautiful women. At the same time even. And it gives him hope he will find someone. So Juan is asking Chad about the date. And he's like, dang man, the first one, Maria, was going to be the one. But now with Beba, you got me confused. And Juan tells him that that's a good thing, and I'm not sure why being confused is a good thing. But then we find out from Juan that Beba thinks their lifestyles are very different. She didn't like how Chad isn't as fiery and outgoing as she would like, but she's willing to go on another date. I'm sure she enjoys being on the show. I believe he said she's a model. So Chad tells Juan, both of them girls have everything I want. Juan says, tell me about Maria. He says, well, she's gorgeous and she cares about her family. And I was impressed he added another thing and he didn't just end with gorgeous. So cares about family. He's got 2 check marks. He then says they both would be great, but he's not sure about the moving to the U.S. thing, and he doesn't know when to bring that up. Juan says, based on Chad's past, he's moved too fast and opened his heart too quickly, and maybe that's what he's doing here. And Chad knows that, but at the same time, his goal here is to find someone to bring back to Tennessee with him. I just think this man wants a puppy, but in woman form. Like, he makes this feel like he's shopping for a wife or someone to bring home with him and wait at his house while he goes and works day, dawn to dusk, and then mows grass for the other 5 hours of the day. And, he just wants someone there sitting there waiting for him to come home and make him dinner and stuff. That's what it sounded like to me. Love me, kiss me, sit at home. Watch me cut the grass lovingly. He just needs a puppy. So he does say that if they don't want to move to the U.S., then that is a deal breaker for him. And also he's proud of himself for going slow. It's like, what's slow? You've had 2 first dates. There's nothing really to build off of there. But at this moment in time, he feels that the foot needs to be taken off the brake, and he just needs to ask these women about this. Juan wishes them luck on their next date, and Chad is basically going to go out with the both of them, asked them if they want to move to the US, and let his heart decide. And by let his heart decide, he means whoever says yes to wanting to move to Tennessee. And Beba for sure is not trying to go live in Tennessee with this guy mowing lawns. I can guarantee that. She wasn't into it already. And I think she, like I said, it's appealing to be on TV. But that was the end of Chad's segment. And a lot of these segments are going to go like this. They were very anticlimactic, or right when something was going to happen, it ended. I can't think of one where we got anything. It was all build up. Next week better be wonderful. All right, let's move on to the beautiful party princess, Michelle. She's waking up to room service, and it's her first time, and she's very awkward about it, and I have not related to something so much in this show because I wouldn't know what to do either. I would have tried to just grab the tray. So I felt that moment. She says her first date with Michael was weird, but it ended well. So she's going to go on the second date, see how it goes, and then decide to call it quits or not after that. So, normal dating, right? They're going to meet up at a coffee shop, and then they're going to walk to the date from there. Katerina set up the second date so they could be more vulnerable, but she doesn't know what the date is. They meet up with Michael. They ask him how he's feeling. Normal, yet excited. She shows up, and she's like, wow, you look so nice. And he has, the Fonzie. Is it Fonzie? No, he just has some cool hair going on. He's got Fonzie vibes, though. And she's like, you look so nice, and I'm so casual. And she's like, Americans kind of wear sweatpants or pajama type stuff. And he's like, yeah, that's how you can tell. That's how you can tell the Americans, I guess. She says that he seems like a nice guy, but he has so much nervous energy, and she just can't get a read on him through that. Neither of them are sure what the next date is, so that makes him nervous too. They show up. Katerina is there. She introduces them. She introduces them to her husband, John. And he's one of the most experienced teachers of energy and body work. So they're in for a treat tonight. And this is so cool. I want to do it so bad. And I'm going to look up local people around me that can help me with this, because I would love it. Even just by myself. So, this is about finding out if they're compatible on an energy level. He can see energies, so he can tell right away with couples, whose heart is open and whose is closed. So, they're in for a series of meditations called the Journey of the Heart. He says we need a journey of the heart because we spend so much time in our head. And that is very true. I need to get back into meditation. There are wonderful YouTube videos of sleep meditations, and I used to listen to them every night. And this made me miss it. It's very calming. So then this man, Michael, is like, well, what about our subconscious? What if things we don't know about come out and manifest? Is this going to keep that under control? And he just has so many questions about the end results and what will happen, instead of just letting this guy do his thing. Even Michelle is like, this man can't finish his speech. He's worried about what emotions will come up during this, and Michelle is just worried she'll never be able to get out of that. Michael won't be able to get out of his head enough, to be able to open up. He said it's John, the energy man, says it's hard to get out of one's head, and that's why he keeps asking questions. And then they give him a little interview, and he just flat out calls Michael annoying. And I'm so glad someone did, because I just wanted to hear the guy talk. He says that he's needy and demands a lot of energy. So finally he gets them to start. and they have their hands on their hearts. Michelle looks like she's doing it, and Michael just looks uncomfortable. They go into a weird, awkward hug, and it's so he can embrace her and make her feel safe. And she just felt like a cat, apparently. And he gets to lay on her lap, and he starts crying a little bit, and he's not sure why, but, he just feels safe. And he starts, comparing it to like a mom doing that for her kids, and that maybe men need that too. And I felt like she took it a little bit the wrong way, because I felt like he's saying like men need a safe place to feel vulnerable like they did when they were kids with their mom. But he definitely used the wrong comparison. And she didn't like being compared to a mother-son energy. It completely turned her off. And I felt bad because he finally opened up like she wanted. She was so concerned he wouldn't open up. And then he does, and it just put her, firmly in the no category. She is now a little annoyed, and she wishes she would have ended it at the first date, because now she's wasted time. And she's sitting here. She could have went on another date, and now she has tear stains on her pants, and she was savage breaking it off with him, like right there. At least he was already crying. She did the right thing telling him, and not giving him false hope, but I just felt bad. So out of this, I hope that Michelle can learn to trust her instincts more after the first date. Just because she had a couple shots and wine and felt giggly doesn't mean that the first half of the date didn't happen. And I think it's a similar thing with Chad and his date. Like, they started drinking, and then she thought, oh, maybe I do like him. Maybe people just shouldn't drink on the first dates. So later, Michelle meets up with Katerina. She says that the second date definitely confirmed Michael was a no-go. And Katerina says her husband could sense the energy and what was going on between them. And as the session progressed, Michelle was getting more and more annoyed with Michael. But she didn't say it. And Michelle gets a good laugh and tells her, she's annoyed because she just wants to find someone there. So, she was wasting time. And Katerina's like, so we're not keeping him on the back burner. Like, we do not pass go. This man's off the board. And, so it is. Katerina has another date set up for her anyway, with someone more grounded, but also not boring. His name is Pavel. And she says he's one of the most real clients Katerina has. And he's mature, and he's on the same level as her. She thinks they'll have a lot of fun, and he's going to appreciate her quirkiness. They meet up, and he's a cute guy. Not bad at all, right? I thought so. He kind of reminded me of Merry or Pippin from Lord of the Rings. So, they don't know where they're going, but Michelle is impressed with him and how he's dressed. They get into this limo, like convertible limo type thing, and buckle up. We find out Pavel is 34, and it makes him about a year younger than Michelle. We find out he hasn't been dating for 3 years. Nothing else has worked out for him, so he's tried this. He would describe himself as a kind person with a good heart, and that makes it hard for him. In Czech Republic, women want the bad guys. And I think that's the sentiment of all good guy types. I think they all feel this way. Maybe it's true. I cannot confirm nor deny that. So they arrive at the date, and they're surprised by a couple of masks. They're kind of like plague doctor type masks, but glittery and not black. And now they're curious what this is about. And that's where we leave Michelle. I'm very excited to see the rest of the date. From the 45 seconds I met this guy, I like him. But that's probably because I thought he was cute. So I'm excited to see that date and hopefully, get some action going. We all know that this woman wants some action. Let's see it. So I think we'll move on to the excitement of the episode. Our guy Harold. Oh, well, we're picking up where we left off with him. He's outside of the jewelry store. He's debating on buying this ring for Michaela. He's explaining how he's off to visit her tomorrow in his hometown. And he wants to buy her a ring to show her his commitment and intentions. However, he's finding that she isn't much of a texter, and he had hoped that they would talk more. But he hasn't really heard from her enough, and I'm sure he's very anxious. So he worried if she will like it, about the money, if she'll even care that he got her a ring. He's just worried about all this stuff. Is he, ready to buy a ring for somebody who hasn't answered him in days? I say buy the ring and go feel it out and then decide whether or not, to give it to her. Also, she is working long days. I know it's not, hard to send a message, but he shouldn't be filling in the blanks himself. That never did anyone any good. And it's never as bad as we make it out in our heads, usually. So he goes back in. Katerina asks how he's doing. He says he's good. He made a decision. She's worth it. He's going for it. He's going to get the ring. And, we all knew he would. Hopefully it's the right size. I always had a fear of that, if I were to be proposed to. And it didn't fit. Actually, that happened to me. Anyway, he feels like proposing is the best way to get her to America and to get to know each other better. He did come here to find his wife after all. And, I don't think he was going to leave without accomplishing that mission. He feels that she's special, that she's the one, and I hope she is. I think we all do. We're rooting for this guy. And this is one of those shows where I really wish the best for everyone. I hope Chad finds a dog, but everyone else, he needs a puppy. So, he goes back in, he decides on a sapphire ring to match her eyes, and thank the universe for that, because if anybody learns anything from me, don't buy a Moldavite ring for marriage. It's gonna, cause chaos. So Katerina says this is the fastest proposal she's had in her matchmaking career. For the most part, she feels people try to go through life and not make mistakes and not follow their hearts. And, they're afraid to make those mistakes, but he's taking the risk. The next day, Harold's packing to visit Michaela's. He's got new underwear and everything. He's packing up the ring and everything he can think of. A ring for true love and things for more intimate love. Extra clothes for the rain or cold. So then they ask him when the last time he talked to her was, and it was 3 days ago, which that's kind of a lot. And when he talked to her 3 days ago, she asked him why he was calling her so early. That might be something I would do. And he just said because he hadn't heard from her yet. He feels more cavalier about their relationship, and he's just on edge. So he's getting on the train and he's expressing, she said it's her only day off and she would meet him, but she hasn't even confirmed the plans or if she's picking him up or not. So hopefully, I'm hoping at this point they're just editing it dramatic and everything's going to go well. He's very nervous. He's getting at the station. He just plans to wait there for her until she answers. And, for people who don't understand autism, I think that this would seem like very weird behavior. But it really isn't. A lot of autistic people hyperfixate. Like, he has it in his head he's going to find a wife. He needs to. If he doesn't, he failed. In his head, he has to go see her. She said she would see him. And if he has to sit there and wait for her to see him, I don't think that is going to bother him. But he would panic the whole time. So he's going to wait there till she answers. He, doesn't want to be heartbroken and fall in love just to lose it. And then he says he came halfway across the world for her already. So he has no regrets. But, it wasn't specifically for her that he came halfway across the world. It was for a chance at love and, not a guarantee. And he shouldn't feel like a failure or anything if it doesn't work out. Like, he's not guaranteed a wife, and she's not obligated to accept her proposal after 2 dates. Most people wouldn't. But she seems to understand him very well, so maybe she would be able to explain to him in a kind way of like, thanks for the ring, but let's get to know each other better. Something like that. But he gives her a call, and she answers, and she sounds happy to talk to him, and he's a little awkward, but he's just so happy to hear from her, and she's even coming to pick him up. And he's just like overjoyed and elated, and you can tell like some of the anxiety is going away. So, in this moment, he's so happy and relieved to see her. He's putting why she didn't answer his calls for a few days on the back burner, and that's going to be figured out later. I really don't think his anxiety will allow that. Mine never would. So, he's in love and excited, and he thinks this visit is his last chance to show her that she's the one for him. She shows up. She's happy to see him. They decide to go eat. She says that with work in her hours, she hasn't really been able to answer his calls or texts, but getting to spend time with him is great. And that's kind of in the street interview type thing. They get in the car and take off, and he's like to the driver, tells the driver to wait a minute so she can get her belt on and wants to be safe. Apparently in Czech, they don't wear seatbelts because Michelle had the same thing in her segment. Anyway, she looks a little like, oh, okay, and puts on her belt, and he tells her he's happy to be here. You can tell he's just so anxious. He says he's nervous. He hasn't heard from her, and she's like, yeah, but it's okay now. And, she was in the shower before, and that's why she didn't answer him. And then he brings up, he might not have told her he's leaving at the end of the week, but he is, and 2 days without her felt like forever. He also says something about, maybe he didn't see it, but I thought it, like, even a couple hours in anxiety time feels like a week. So I get what he's saying, but I'm not 100% sure about this. Maybe in European cultures, they're just very laid back. Like, she was kind of like, well, we're together now. It's not a big deal. They don't seem to, like, want to wear seatbelts. And it must be really nice to be in a culture that isn't so driven by anxiety and fear. I bet that feels good. So Harold and Michaela arrive at the place, and, he's nervous. He has the ring. He wants to propose. He just doesn't know how she will react. And he should give it a little while, take some breaths, like not before they even have appetizers or anything. But they sit down, and I noticed they already had a reserved sign on the table. So they knew they were coming. They set that up. Or they called ahead. Harold tells her he has a list of things he needs to ask, and he needs a list because when he looks into her eyes, nothing but them matters. And she's very flattered by that. She tells him he can ask her anything. And he's like, well, how do you feel about us moving quickly? Because his time is almost up and he has something to ask her. And that's where we end their segment. I think I would have been happier if like just one of these parts didn't end like that. Just one. But that's how that ended, and we'll see. So far, she has been very good at handling what's been thrown at her by him, or dealing with what some people might not understand, like his behavior sometimes. And if she doesn't want to accept the proposal, I'm pretty confident that she'll handle it in a way that won't completely crush him, even though it'll crush him a little for sure. Especially, I think maybe she just wants to keep dating for a while before that. Nobody could fault her for that. And I'm going to go ahead and round it up here with Stanika. I loved her part in this episode. It was wonderful. We catch up with her, and she's just looking stunning in her pink dress, and I'm here for it. And I think it even had some leopard or animal print going on. Beautiful. She is headed on her last date with Noradine in Morocco before she, heads back to America tomorrow. And this is going to be her last time seeing him for a while. And she's, glad meeting his family went well. But now she's nervous because she doesn't know what to expect going into this date. She needs to figure out Noradine's exact intentions and exactly how he's feeling, and basically, what's the plan here. They have a seat on the floor, and he's trying to help her, but she refuses, and she has a little tip over, and that was pretty funny. And they order some water, and he asks her for orange juice. And I think that he remembers she loves the orange juice there, and that's why he did that. He tells her he booked everything for her, and he wants her to have a special last night. And I don't know what booked everything for her means, but we're going to find out. He gets in the interview and says after the family lunch, it was a really big step and deal for both of them. And he wanted to take her out and figure out what's next, so they're on the same page. She says this is her first romantic style date. And he's like, oh, it won't be your last. This man is smooth. And, he has a surprise for her. And a belly dancer comes in. And they, she gets up and dances with her and pulls him up. And he tells her, that's for ladies. He can't. And she shows him a little bit of moves. And she says that she has a lot of fun with him. And it really shows. And he explains, belly dancing is a part of his culture. And she's like, you are really outdoing yourself with this date, He has left her speechless. And when she started this, she wasn't sure it would work out or she would mesh well with someone, because they're from such different cultures. And he's the only one that she did. And he says, it's easy for them to be close because they have a lot of different things in common. And her meeting his mom, they became even closer. And she just said, meeting him was like a breath of fresh air. He was like Prince Charming. They're reminiscing on, their first meeting. And this brings up the serious talk. And he says he's 41. He's not getting younger. He doesn't have a lot of time. And he thinks it's time to move to the next step. And she has no idea what the next step is for him. For her, it's for him to come visit America and them get to know each other better. And for him, I'm guessing it's a proposal. I'm pretty sure once you meet someone's family around those parts, that's what's next. But I know that we all wish the best for them. I think they're adorable. she deserves it. I hope that they can make things work. I think she is so funny, and I would love to see more of her, and I know we will next week, but I'm saying in the future, I'm a big fan. Yeah, so that was the end of the couples this week. I'm excited for next week. I am definitely going to be playing catch up here the next few days because I missed a whole week of my shows. I did have a wonderful little vacation, and I got to bring my family to a little state park, and I even got to, go to the movies, see the Barbie movie, which was good. I would go see it if I were you. And yeah, I made a lot of good memories. So I'm going to be catching up on Before the 90 Days. So that should be out in the next couple days for sure. And The Other Way. I'm going to probably start checking out 90 Day UK. And I'm patiently waiting for this couples retreat thing, whatever that is. Is it called couples retreat? I know they've announced a few more couples. So far, we're up to Ed and Liz, Angela and Michael, Asuelu and Kalani. Oh, I knew them all. I had it. Oh, Kelly and Molly, and Yari. I always call them that. Yara and Jovi. So far, I don't know that I'm thrilled to see any of them. And I'm very surprised Molly and Kelly were on the list. But let me know if you're excited to see any of those couples. And please like and subscribe and comment. And I definitely appreciate you if you've made it this far. And look out for my other videos. And yeah, have a great day. Take deep breaths. And I'll see you later. Bye.